ID. So we need 5 at the door. All right. All right, you good. You go inside. Good morning, everyone. I have Madison from. How many projects do I need to start with there? All right. So we got. Let's start with Shuty. Let's start with we're going like obscure up to the stuff. So
that sounds all right.
Yeah. No Good with Secrets, Ogbert the Nerd. Anything else that you were a part of? I know you had like a pop thing for a second.
Oh God, that's I'm trying to think. Right now, those are the main 3. I've done like a lot of things. The 3, those are the main 3 that are like the most what I would call active. I jump in and out of a bunch of other bands as time goes on. I'm supposed to be filling in for a band next week. I'm filling in for Raccoon Tour for one show.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, I just kind of jump all over the place, but those are the main 3, yeah.
Okay, so for like the last, I'll say like 6 years, because I think I'm going to go a little bit before like stuff, popped up with y'all's stuff. You're kind of prolific in the concept of like all the stuff that you're putting out, and like it's not a shotgun blast of like trying to see what sticks. It's just, this is the stuff that you're into and you kind of don't give a fuck, right?
Yeah, that's probably the best way I would put it. I mean, I can take it from the top.
Yeah, dude, like let's do this. Like, honestly, give me the chronology of like why you wanted to just dive into almost everything DIY.
Yeah, definitely. So I started off just kind of fucking around with computers when I was like 10. I had no inclination for music until I was about, I want to say like 16, because I'd always liked music, but I was mostly doing like video editing and stuff. Like I was very into YouTube poop. That's like the thing that everyone figures out at one point about me that I like don't talk about too much, because it's like
that makes so much sense. But
it's like that was how I found out about like video editing and stuff, and like linear editing in general, which then translated to music, because I started getting into like making mashups and stuff. And that was around 11 years ago now. And I wound up meeting a friend of mine that I'm friends with to this day, and I'm supposed to be feeding their cat right now. But my buddy Kai from the band Steve, we worked at the same shop right together when we were in high school, and I was like finding out about like Algernon and like snowing and all that, and he had come in one day wearing a Great Big Pile of Leaves shirt, and I was like, oh, like, you know about this stuff? I didn't know other people knew about this stuff. I thought this was just internet. And
fun.
He started dragging me to shows with him because I didn't have my license yet. So he brought me out to New Brunswick for the first time, probably like 2013-ish. Because I lived about 2 towns over, and I'd known about the scene. I just never knew who to ask. He had friends who had graduated and started houses, so we would start going up to shows together then and just kind of jumping all over New Jersey at different spots. There was like a really big scene in like 2014 down the shore and like in New Brunswick, and that's how I got involved with DIY stuff, because I was just like, I just want to be a part of this. So I had been playing guitar for a little bit, doing like covers and whatever in my free time. And I started trying to figure out how songs worked. And then I figured out how songs worked. And then after that, it was just kind of nonstop as long as I was able to record things. And the big one for me was in 2015. I replied to Luke Hendricks from Teenage Halloween's post. Mm-hmm. They were looking for guitars for Teen Ween to do some tour dates, and I replied not really knowing how to play guitar or owning an electric guitar. And they were like, yeah, sure, you're in. So that's literally how that's literally how I started touring. It was like 2015. I had free time because I like tried college. I didn't like college, so I dropped out and just had a lot of free time. So we were just driving all over the goddamn place, playing shows. And then I didn't really know how anything worked. I ran out of money and I had to stop because I was like, okay. And that's when I started getting really into recording, was because I couldn't really go out and tour or anything because I had been working full time by like age 19. Mm-hmm. So I just started recording, and then with that, then you learn how to make like CDs. Then I figured out how to make tapes. And then it was just like, I wanted to find out as many things as I can do with DIY as quickly as I could. And it's just kind of been a nonstop, just churning press since. I have the same mentality as I did when I was like making YouTube poofs. Was like, this really isn't for anyone but me. It's like really stupid. So if it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't stick, I don't really care. I'm just going to keep making things. And I've just done that for the last 10 so years now. And now I'm here.
That's crazy. Because it's like, you kind of live in this little bubble of like not caring about streaming, not caring about reviews, not caring about labels, not caring about any of that stuff. You just love this process.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like I've always called it like feverish hobbyism, because it's like
that's so good.
It's like I have I ask myself all the time, why the hell am I doing this? And it's like, oh yeah, because I wouldn't really be doing anything else. So it's always been like that for me.
I think that's really cool because like I think as someone that joined the scene like as like an artist in my 30s, like I've really, really enjoyed that term feverish hobbyism, because that's exactly what it feels like, where there is this community, this whole thing is very like, it's kind of addicting to like want to like looking up like I've subscribed to the board science stuff. Like I love it. It's so cool. And like as no one's going to be able to see this, but like I just stare at this just all.
Oh my God. Thank you. Hell yeah.
Like it's just so sick that you're like involved in like, why not just do everything yourself? Why not like just, and the retro thing or the physical, I think that there's this strange thing about how physical stuff is what keeps bands alive. And it is also, there's this look back into, well, let's go back to when it was physical stuff. So doing mini discs, doing VHSs, doing all that stuff. Is that kind of what led you to like become a part of this weird physical thing as well?
Yeah, kind of. I've always been obsessed with physical media, and it's kind of a problem. I'm a little bit of a hoarder, and for me, it's like I've always wanted everything that I make to look really cool. Mm-hmm. And it's for no other reason besides the fact of like, I just kind of want to look at it and be like, this is so cool. Because I like making shiny objects, and like I have things lying around my apartment that will never see the light of day that like I literally just made for myself just because I wanted it to exist.
You're and like a pro.
That's it. Like I just never. For me, it's like it begins and ends at, can I make that? And if I can make it, why not make it? Where like, this is a release I was supposed to do that it just never worked out. But like, we did the Stone Skipper tapes. That's my partner's project, who's across the room and being very quiet. But I was supposed to do their CDs in like heart-shaped boxes. And it just didn't really work out like that. But like I designed it and everything. But it's like I literally made it just because I was like,
I bet I can.
Be cool. I can probably make that. So let's see. Like it's like it doesn't really like end with me either. Like my entire family has always kind of been like that. Like my father is a self-trained auto mechanic.
Sick.
My mother taught herself how to drive a bus and like now is like a leader of an operation, and like it's always been for us like a very self-made thing. It's like, growing up, like I grew up like I was a kid during the recession, like learning how to like do a lot at an early age. Has definitely informed like my mentality with DIY stuff, where it's like I always see bands like fall into these pitfalls of like these shitty contracts and shit, and for me I'm like I don't know, I've never got there, because like it begins and ends with me, where like that's another thing of just like I like having myself to blame if things go wrong, because it's like, if it's, I don't want it to be like a full operation where I find out I'm like the last person to find out if something fucked up. I like knowing that I fucked up.
Yeah.
And knowing that like I am the sole reason why, and that I need to fix it, and then figuring out how to fix it, instead of like this telephone game where it's like, I feel like especially with the internet, it's like gotten really bad with like strings of people like that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's all just kind of simplifying it, because like my brain is small and I needed to make sense in like 3 steps.
Yeah, because then I think the closer you are, the closer you are to the problem, and if it's just you, then you can fix it. Because
exactly,
that's such a good ethos. I'm obsessed with that, because I think that is kind of like the thing that I've found, like joining this whole thing and like fully just like a sponge, and like seeing the ethos of this whole thing, and watching you and watching Board Science and watching all this stuff happen. It's just been, get as close as you can to it, because you'll be able to manipulate whatever you need to in order to get it right.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really sick to watch y'all do this, because I think that there's just, first of all, you're also very funny online too. I think that's like also like the thing. Everyone has to be so fucking funny online all the time, and it's kind of annoying, because I'm like trying to be funny. I have to work on it. It's so cool that it's just natural for you and so many people.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where that happened. I've just kind of always used the internet that way, where like even like dating back to like YouTube proof stuff, it was always like to make a group chat of people who were like already on call with me laugh by seeing something on their timeline, because they're also just sitting there tweeting dumb shit. And I've always been like that. And like, I've always used like the internet as just kind of like, yeah, to throw it out. It's like every stupid thought, where it's like nowadays it's like I'm a little more careful about things like that. Because like, I am older and now I have a job. Like I can't just like shout whatever weird political opinion I feel like, because it's like, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't threaten that person. But
actually, that's really fascinating that you bring that up, because the DIY Twitter, you hop in and out. The Discord, I hop in and out there. I like seeing it. The one time I had a conversation with you is when there was the AI thing that happened. And that was you had a very interesting take on that, because everyone was so pissed, and you were like, this is kind of what happens.
Yeah, I mean, for specifically the AI stuff, like I kind of like any sort of technological thing, I just kind of approach in like baby steps, where it's like with AI, it's like if you read, the more you read into it, the more terrifying it becomes. And it's like, but at the like the start of any sort of new thing, there's going to be like these hyper capitalist fucking weirdos who make these like terribly cheap things, and then it's like everyone's afraid for their jobs and stuff, which is like totally fair. Yeah, and I think like that is a very valid takeaway. And it's like I'm never going to like tell people like, oh no, shut up, like you just need to be better at art. It's like, no, that's real, because it's like it's happening, and it's like we see like these like ads where like these major companies are like taking these shortcuts, where there was that whole thing with that Naruto game. Did you see that?
No, the only recent one that I saw is A24's new Civil War movie. They just they made a bunch of art for promotion, and they did a Chicago thing, but they made the two big buildings like really far away from each other. But that's because like they just didn't know and didn't ask, and they just did a bunch of weird shit. And so they did all these famous cities where they just had AI, and it was the art department that did all these AI things. And so like, what was the Naruto thing?
So there's this Naruto game that came out, and all the voice acting is all wonky and fucked up. And what people are speculating is that the voice actors who recorded like specific lines, they built like a text-to-speech language out of their voices and redid lines and like wrote new lines without having them come back in, where it's like, that's fucked. That's a very real thing. But it's again, it's like everyone immediately clocked it.
Yeah. I think so that's also, we have so many eyes on all of it. Like if we have so many eyes on all of this, like we are the ones that are kind of policing it anyways. And because everything's already kind of like on red alert, like we are totally like in the process of like, we are the ones that are the checks and balances when it comes to this stuff, because I think everyone's just paying attention.
Well, that's it. It's like at the end of the day, it like all lands on the consumer, where it's like, you know, any sort of capitalist anything. It's like, if you buy an AI generated children's book, you're a bad parent.
Yeah. Yes.
And, you know, there's going to be people that do that. Like, you know, like people who raise their kids on fucking iPads and shit. And it's like, it's all down to choices and shit. At the end of the day, it's like, I'm open to the possibilities of it. I don't use it for anything. Mm-hmm. I've used it for one specific thing, and it was a college assignment recently, because I was told explicitly in the directions that I needed to write the essay using fucking chat GPT to like generate research. Mm-hmm. And Fun. It was the most grating process of my entire life, because it's like, it's literally just setting you up to be either A, like flagged for plagiarism, or B, you just have unsubstantiated facts. And it's like, especially for this class, it was a history class, like having unsubstantiated facts about history, it's like, you still have to do fucking research to make sure that the answers you're getting are right. And it's like, I said this a while ago to some friends while I was talking about this, and it's like, what I think would be a good step, not a solution, is, so how AI works is like, it scrapes the web for like little bits and pieces to build something. Mm-hmm. Have a log, keep the sources, and have it sourced.
Yeah, great.
Like, for me, I think that's a step in the right direction. There's also like all the licensing and all that shit. But like, again, it's something that's above my grade of thinking. I just avoid it.
It's weird because like at my day job, I work in AI. I work in podcast AI. So
really?
Yeah, I work at this company called Headliner, and I actually use all their products for like editing and for like, I make this podcast. This podcast is very, very easy for me because first of all, I have like my Logic fucking template set up for exactly how I want it to be, no matter what. Zoom makes this super easy. I just basically export, and it's just an MP3 file that I just upload. But I upload this MP3 into Headliner, and it transcribes it, and then it can give me because of like, it knows via my RSS feed, it knows everything of my old previous show notes. So it'll build show notes for me. It'll build references for me. It'll build all this stuff. And I don't even have to make that stuff anymore. It just does it for me.
That's how it should be used. It should be used as a tool.
Yes. And I think that that's where I'm trying to actually find where maybe that's an interesting case of like, yeah, this definitely works for podcasting. I'm interested in like, who's going to make the ethos correct, ethically correct music AI tool. I'm so intrigued with that.
I made a tweet and deleted it immediately after, because I was like, I'm at work. I can't really have a nuanced conversation about this. But like, something that I was thinking about was like backing tracks, and like a big argument I saw, because there was that whole fucking discourse about fucking backing tracks, which is stupid.
It's so funny.
But it's like a point that like I personally have with backing tracks is like, it eliminates part of the experience of seeing live music, which is like the live element, where it's like, you know, you are playing to a backing track, but it's like, there's nowhere to go. You have to abide by the backing track. You're abiding by BPM. You're abiding by things that already exist. So something that I was thinking of is a way that a backing track could adapt to a live setting, where it could like build on that and build on what's being inputted from like the live setting, into something that gets procedurally generated as like its own like member of the band almost, where it's like you have these supplemental elements and then you have things feeding into it and it like improvises on top of it. Because like there's things like that already with like, you know, like pitch correction and shit like that, where it's like if you could like make a video, like there's that Sora app now where you could just type things and make a video. It's like I feel like that is an interesting idea to explore, because it's like it's such an interesting technology where it's like you could feed material into it and it feeds something out. It's just like a matter of the ethics of what is being fed into it, which is like where I see all the people getting frustrated is like, you know, they're having their material without their permission fed into it.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people get bent about it, because it's like, yeah, no, I don't want like it. You know, I'm not the right person to ask about it, because I have told people over and over to just bootleg our shit because I think it would be funny to see what happens.
Yeah, totally. Because I like that.
But it's like, you know, I am not going to tell people how to get their bag when it comes to this, especially like people who take it a little more seriously than I do, where like, you know, bands on the road and shit, I'm sure they don't want people selling fake merch outside of their 500 cap club show. Like it's a real concern. But it's like, you know, I think it's something that should be regulated to some degree before it's like let as wild as it is. But also it's like we're living in the age of the internet. Everything is free. The idea of anything having monetary value now is like something that's constantly questionable, where it's like I fucking at the beginning of me like creating things, I pirated Sony Vegas. That is a $600 software. We're like, you know, fuck $1 billion company. But at the same time, it's like I saw no value to that. I was like, there's this gate in my way. Let me climb over it.
Yeah. And I think that's also in the spirit of DIY in itself, where it's like, I think that, free products are also interesting. Everything is kind of in a freemium way anyways. And like that has been kind of an interesting, where you're right. Like, if I wanted to get involved in that kind of editing thing and like, you know, learning to torrent and doing all that stuff. Also learning to torrent, does anyone still do that anymore? Like,
oh yeah.
Okay, cool. I haven't done any of that stuff in like years. So I'm like, how does that even work anymore?
I mean, it's definitely been relegated to a smaller community, but like I know people who like will still exclusively listen to music off iPods, and like people.
Oh, interesting.
There's people who are like way more into physical media than I am, who are like very much like everything needs a copy. And I absolutely advocate for that.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's like, you know, I have Spotify Premium.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's do this. I think you and I could go on about this like forever. So let's do this. No Good with Secrets. This is the next thing. I've had the chance of, you know, very, very lucky to have listened to the whole thing. And it is something that's just kind of, I put on now just because it's so happy. I don't think anyone really gets this, but I think that you make fucking pop music, man. I think you make pop music, and it's like, it's so like, just because there isn't like weird electronic beats, even though they're on this record, there are. Like it's you make this really, really good. It's happy. Like I think it sounds happy. I just like when you were working on this record, tell me kind of what that process was like.
Okay, yeah. So, No Good with Secrets is definitely the pop project, like no question. Like, I mean, I try to implement pop into everything I do because it's like that's how I learned to write songs. You learn major chords, you learn cowboy chords, and then you write things. I still write things that way because I don't really know what I'm doing. But No Good with Secrets specifically is a project where like I have written songs like that forever, and it actually started off because I had the first No Good with Secret song, Whatever You Want. I had that, and I had a demo of it that I did at home, and I hated how it sounded. And I usually record everything myself, and I just couldn't figure out how to make it sound good. And I was put in touch with Max through a buddy of mine who was like, you know, record with Max. Max would love to record you. And Max actually recorded Bike Cops as well the year before. Not Bike Cops, Borculator the year before. Cool. And I really liked working with Max. So I went to the studio for a day and churned out the 2 songs with Max. And after that, it was like I just kept compiling whatever things I had that sounded like that, and then I would book 4 days with Max, and then we'd go. So last year we did that with in stereo, and it was very much like we locked down and we recorded these songs as quick as we could and like as loud as we could, and it turned out great. Like I really, really love that project. And this year I had booked the studio time like 6 months in advance, and then didn't have any songs I wanted to record. It was like, I will write the songs in that meantime, 6 months. That gives me enough time to write an album.
Yeah.
I didn't, and it took about a month to write it, and I was like just trying to churn out whatever literally just the most sugar-coated shit I could.
That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like fucking breakfast cereal, man.
I thank you. I really strive for that, because I like, the big thing about the project is like I don't like wasting time with my music, or like I have a very hard time writing like parts that don't have lyrics, because I'm like, what else do you need to do? You're already saying all the things. We're in the middle of recording the Ogbert album right now. We have that issue constantly where like I will come in with like 4 paragraphs of lyrics to like cram it in 2 minutes, and everyone's like, there's just not a second to breathe, and you personally can't breathe. I am a lifelong asthmatic, and I literally can't breathe, and I have like 9 tracks of me overlapping myself. But like this project was definitely just the most sugar-coated, compact things. I got them as short as I could possibly make them without making them not make sense. And then I did it. On top of that, it's like also half the record is re-recorded songs that I had already written for like Shuty, OK Friends, and all those projects that I just never got to sound how I wanted to. And it's like, I have the studio time. These are good bones. Let me give it like an actual body. And that's been the most fulfilling thing about that project, is the fact that like these are songs that I really do love, that I have just been sitting on, that now I could like really give the treatment that I wanted to. And
you've been kind of on the road forever. So like you writing that, I know you posted about that song that I think it's like number, what was the name of that? Sentimental Things?
Yes.
Yeah. Sentimental Things is such a beautiful song, because it's kind of like you're talking to your old self in a way. Now that you're singing it with this thing.
Well, that's another part of the project that I find very fulfilling, is the fact that like I now have new outlooks on life that I did when I wrote those songs. Because a lot of those songs, like especially like the Shuty stuff, the OK Friends stuff, it's like those are songs that I wrote when I was like 20, 21, and I had no idea what the hell was going on, because who, when they're 20 or 21, knows what's going on? And it's like, in that moment you think it's like, you got to figure it out. And then like, you get taken off the health insurance, and then you have to find a job, and then you have to find a place to live. And then suddenly it's just like, what the fuck was I so mad about?
Yeah, that's actually, like, I think that it's why another reason why I wanted to start this podcast is because I want to talk to people that like are dealing with those things and those outlooks, and like seeing them change. Like I'm 36. Like I've seen a lot of like, I've talked to a lot of people that are in early 20s, people are in the mid 30s. It's been so cool to see like I asked this to everyone. What is your day job?
I drive a school bus.
Dog, if that isn't like the coolest thing, do you love it?
It definitely depends on the day. It pays the bills. But yeah, no, I've been driving and working on school buses since I was 19 years old.
Oh, well, I mean, that's so sick. Like, I think that is like, I think, all right, this is like my 31st, 32nd episode. Of all the jobs I've heard, that is the most interesting, and I'm probably going to say coolest job, just because I think that you have a great relationship with probably kids, and like, I bet that's just sick.
Yeah, no, it definitely opened my mind a lot to like just wider consideration towards like empathy and like just understanding people a little further and like hearing people out and meeting people in the middle. Cause it's like, you know, you don't really understand compromise until you have to like bring down a 8-year-old who's having the worst day of their life.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know,
sorry, you were saying?
But it's like, you know what, whatever they're going through, it like, it probably doesn't matter because like, you know, when you're 8, you get mad when like your fucking folder is bent or something. And it's like, you have to understand like that is the worst thing that they are feeling ever. And like, it's gotten them to the point where it's like, you know, nowadays to get me to like break down, it takes, you know, a pretty good amount, but like, you know, I was at that age and you learn how to like talk and like meet people where they're at. And like, especially like I also worked as a cashier in customer service for a little while. So it's like, there's also that level of like, you know, suspending your personal hangups to hear someone out where it's like, you know, I didn't take my customer service job seriously at all because who the fuck does? But like at the same time, it's like I did learn a lot about like talking to people and like,
yeah. I worked in customer support and like all that stuff. And it's just kind of funny. You're right. You kind of put a pause on like any of your stuff. You're kind of just like in job mode and it's like this kind of empathy mode where it's like, that's all I have to give you. And I'm doing exchanging empathy for money. And that is kind of what all of those jobs are.
And like, you know, and as cynical as it is, it's like, you know, yeah, it is. But then you like take that into the real world and then you like talk to more people and you meet, especially like DIY, you meet people from everywhere and like every direction. And you could like, you know, I don't like talking shade, but it's like, you know, you definitely do meet people where it's like, you have never had to work a job you hated. Yeah. And it's like, and like, you know, you can still kind of meet them where they're at because you understand that. And it's like, okay, you don't get me. And it's like, you know, as a younger person, when I was like, to bring it all back around to like writing songs and stuff, as a younger person, that used to really piss me off because like, you know, I'm not from a well-off background or anything like that, but it's like, you know, we definitely were fine. And like, you know, when you meet people who have more opportunities to do things than you and like, they don't really appreciate that, like, you know, it is grating, but at the same time, it's like, as you get older, you just understand like they don't know what your life is like and you take that with you. And I definitely take a lot of that out of my experience with working and just in general, just operating in DIY and just kind of trying to use like radical forgiveness and all that. And like, just listening to people more. I think like that's the biggest thing that you learn as you get older is to just listen more.
I will completely agree with you. I think that is one of the few things that like coming into this is like, oh man, I'm so happy that I'm here at this age because I feel like I wouldn't have listened more or I wouldn't have talked as much. And I think this is just, I think that you're in a space where you're pretty, again, with your with this background of this truly catalog of music that you have and the personality that you have. I think that you are kind of like this prince and understanding of like what like this princess of like of what you're supposed to do here. And like you have like it's very funny because it's like
it's just funny when it's put like that. I mean I personally like, especially now, it's like I am on the younger end. Like, I mean, in comparison, like I'm 27 and like I've been at this for like 10 years now. And I definitely do consider myself like someone who has been around, but it's like at the same time, like I try to like use that status as a more inviting thing. Where it's like, you know, you know, it is funny to say like princess and prince about like what you're supposed to be doing. But at the same time, it's like, I do hope that I hope it all the time. And I do see it, like people doing what I do and better. And it's like, I don't really see myself as doing anything that extraordinary because like, I learned from other people. I am like a weird little fucked up collage of like 900 older people who influenced me. And it's like, my only hope is that I could be like one of the 900 that influenced somebody else. And like, I definitely have heard people talk to me and be like, you inspire what I do. And I'm like, how?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I do always appreciate hearing it. It's like, I do really hope that like ultimately what I'm doing, like, it's not the goal to make an impact, but like if it does have an impact, I do hope it is positive.
Yeah, I find you inspiring, and I think that a lot of people do. Basically, I think that just keep doing it, and
I have no choice. My brain won't let me stop. I try to get into other shit. It's not working.
I think that I am having the same problem. Like I am so hyper focused on like this whole community and like making stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna. Madison is doing some cool shit. I want to do cool shit too. That's kind of like the way that I look at it.
That's it.
So I want to play a song of yours. Is there any do you have any holds barred on a song that you would like to play? Do you of the new record, do you have any like holds that you can't play because of XYZ?
No. You can play whatever you want. I don't care. You can play the whole record.
Cool. I'm going to
I'm sure this is going to come out after, but Sentimental Things does come out tomorrow. Today, we're recording this on April 18th.
Hell yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So you can play whatever.
Okay. All right, cool. I have I'm probably going to play Waited Too Long.
Oh yeah, totally.
I really love that song. So here's Waited Too Long by No Good With Secrets.
just beside myself now. I waited too long. I waited too long. I waited too long. I waited too long.
That was Waited Too Long by No Good With Secrets. Dog, thank you so much for hanging out with me. This was so cool. Glad to meet you. Super stoked with everything that you're doing. So just have a good rest of your day and drive that bus, dog. That's so sick.
I got no choice. I got a cat to feed.
All right, you have a good rest of your day.
Say to you. Be good.
Bye.